Here's Becky.
May I say thank you for listening to the voice of God and praying.
Yes, yeah, and it's powerful what comes out of that when we do listen. And I think we heard your husband preach probably one of the best sermons I ever heard him preach last night. Just really proud of you guys,
So sweet.
Well, God's so good, isn't He? I mean, seriously, what God does for us. And I'm really triggered as we go into this new series. And the series is called This Is What We Do, or What We Do. And it was really Pastor Dave Myers, who's the chairman of our board in Canada, our World Mission Continuum board. And we're talking about how we can grow our support base, our partner base in Canada, because it's a huge challenge for us at this time. And he said, well, the real problem is that we don't know what you do over there. And I'm like, seriously? Now, you and I, we just finished a 6-week series on communication.
Yes. And
when somebody doesn't know what you do, it's not their fault.
Yeah, especially someone so close to us, right?
That's right, especially someone so close.
Yeah.
So we have to look and say, okay, what is it that we're missing? And here's really what I see, Becky. It's not so much that Pastor Dave doesn't know what we do, because he's over here all the time, right? We spend a lot of time together. We talk all the time. But it's that he doesn't have the tools from us or the mandate from us, the clarity from us to be able to tell other people what we do.
Yeah.
And so that's really where we're going. We need to be able to, if you can't tell other people what you're doing here, and they can't tell other people what you're doing here, then it's not clear.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
it has to be able to be communicated in one sentence, right? It's
that's
like
right.
that takeaway statement that Pastor Andy Stanley always talks about. People have to be able to summarize clearly what you do in a statement. And if it's not clear in words, then it really isn't clear in their mind, right?
Absolutely
they get that
right.
we have church planting, they get that we have schools, that we do a lot of training, we do media.
Right.
But what does it actually produce? What is it actually?
Yeah, and the thing is, if you can't communicate it until you've put all of that into the one thing that we do. We only do one thing.
It's true.
And when you look at everything, I mean, that's why we're starting with the story of Becky, and we're going to go through the 4 reaches of influence and responsibility that God gives us. And each reach goes farther, and it involves more people. And the first reach, like we say, is to raise your own family. And basically, in raising our own family, we're all responsible to raise our own families. Obviously, that's a given. And to do that, we have everything on the inside of the parents, basically in the family structure, to be able to do that.
Yeah. So before we get further ahead, because you're getting into the subject material already, let's start with the first question, because we actually haven't answered it.
Right.
What do we do?
Okay. What do we do?
In a sentence.
In a sentence, we make leaders. That's what we do. We make leaders. And then to understand it, we have to make leaders out of who? And this is where we're going with this, is we make leaders basically, and where we're going to end up with this on the number 4 episode of this series, is that we make leaders out of people who are sitting in dark corners of the world, who have a sense or a somehow a determination that somewhere, somehow, there's a good news, and there's somebody that could bring it to me, and in that good news, I would be able to fulfill the destiny or the purpose. And you remember your pre-Christ days as kind of like, what's the purpose to my life? Well, when you meet Jesus, now you know your purpose. And because salvation comes with a purpose. And so that's what we're talking about. We make leaders out of people that are ready to connect, whether it's this first level, the next level, the third level, the fourth level. We're going to talk about what those are. And so that's what we do. We make leaders. And I think if you look all across the nations of Asia, 10 nations, all the churches, the Bible schools, and all those kind of things, we've got, 140, we figured out, students in Bible school
like
at any given time. And, churches being planted and all kinds of amazing things going on. All of this, income-producing ministry, everything comes under this one thing. We make leaders.
It's very important, too, because I think when you look at a nation like Thailand, where there's a history of how many hundreds of years of mission work?
250.
250 years of mission work. Yet the percentage of believers is still in the, 1 percentile range?
That's what they say, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, and the issue is, I think this is kind of the disconnect, is Jesus never said, go into all the world and make converts.
That's right.
He said, go into all the world and make disciples. And so when we skip that step, when we just make converts, but we don't actually make leaders, and the whole point of leadership is connecting people to their destiny. You become a leader when you begin to connect to the thing that God put in your heart. And until you connect to your destiny, you're just a follower.
Yeah, that's right.
And so Jesus said, go into all the world and make disciples. And so that's why, yes, we're missionaries. Yes, we do evangelize. Yes, we do preach the gospel. But it's all to get people, like the salvation thing is step one. And then you actually have to get them plugged into their purpose. That's the only way that we can make leaders. And that's the only way you're going to bring an influence that actually changes a culture and changes a nation.
Well, I actually think that's the only way people actually get saved.
It's true.
I don't think you can get saved and just be a fire insurance guy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But and we see this. I see that there's an earthly trinity when it comes to missions, and that is those who go, those who send, and those we go to.
Right.
And if any one of those are missing, or we don't understand any one of those, then the whole missions idea won't work. Jesus said, "Go."
Yeah.
Right. Paul said, "How can they go unless they be sent?" And the whole Bible is about who we're sent to. That we are going to connect with these people. Like I say, sitting in dark corners of the earth. It could be in a high-rise building, or riding in a Mercedes Benz, or it could be in a slum in India.
Yeah.
That there are people that are ready to connect with God's destiny for their lives.
Amen. Okay, so then our series, what we do is we make leaders. And the first area that you actually build leadership in is in your own family, which is the point of today's topic. Okay?
That's it, exactly.
So here's the first question. What is the first responsibility that God gives you as a person, a believer?
Right. As well, and I think this could be different for different people depending on your circumstance. But for Mom and I, it was to raise you guys, right? So the first level. I mean, we had Margaret and you and Chris. We came to Thailand with you little guys, and so that was basically the first thing. And I can remember back in those days. I mean, we would go by an airport, and you guys would get excited that we're going to go to Thailand to be missionaries, right? It was pretty sweet. And we, as a family, we were so focused on that, and we knew that it was a family call and a family purpose. And when we look at the idea of someone sitting in a dark corner of the world, it could be someone sitting in your own house around your own table, right? And we have to be able to impart and stir up and facilitate the drawing out of the gift of God in them. And what's absolutely wonderful for us today is we have 4 redheaded kids, natural born kids, and that is, Margaret in Calgary and you here, and Chris in Regina becoming a policeman, and Esther here as well running the coffee shop, and all serving God in a different gift, in a particular gift, but absolutely wonderfully. And I think that's it's not an issue of doing that perfectly, but it's an issue of being committed to do that, and God sees that commitment in the hearts of your mother and I, and He says, okay, I'm going to give you the next level of responsibility because I need you and I can use you. And we'll get to why that happens and how that happens, because it's actually prophetically declared over our lives before it really happened.
Yeah. It's kind of like the whole idea of, if you don't know how to manage your own finances, how are you going to be able to manage a business, right? So it's your family, and even if you don't have kids, there's people who are always in your circle of influence,
That's right?
Nieces and nephews and cousins and, brothers and sisters. There's people that you actually are able to speak into their lives and kind of parent. And that's where you have to make sure that you are taking advantage of that opportunity to really stir up the purposes of God in that. So your first responsibility then is to your kids, and that responsibility looks like basically training them in a way that brings out the gift of God in them, right? Brings out the purpose of God in their life, okay?
And that's basically comes down from, again, am I going to just live for myself?
Yeah.
Or am I going to live for the people that God put me on this earth for? That's really
right. So the whole idea of parenting isn't just our kids are properly fed and clothed and they're happy.
That's right.
It's that we're actually connecting them to destiny.
That's it,
right?
yes.
So how would you do that? Because some parents think like it's going to church the answer, making sure they're in Sunday school. Like how do you actually draw out the destiny of God when you're looking at a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old? Or
well, they're the fun ones, right? Because you tell them anything and they believe it, right? And so you work on that, and of course it's what you do, and going to church is a big part of it.
Right.
Not because going to church is going to do the trick, but the discipline and taking the responsibility is going to do the trick. It's going to change them. It's going to set their hearts on the right path. Because the fact is, what you do is going to be totally different from what I do.
Right.
But there is a sense in which, because we raise you according to the gift that God has put in you, that's unique. But also, like Ephesians, Paul said in Ephesians, he said, the children ought to obey their parents, right? And this is the first promise that it has a first
Yeah.
obedience. It has a promise with it, and that parents should not anger their kids, but teach them in the admonition or the growing up of the Lord.
Right.
So there is a sense in which you become like your parents as well.
Right.
In vision and determination, the integrity things.
So then the key is, as a parent, you better make sure that you're actually walking in your purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can't connect your kids to something
That's right.
that you're not.
Yeah, you could never do it
connected to
otherwise, could you?
yourself.
Because
Yeah.
and that's what happens. Because kids look at their parents and say, "Yeah, right."
I got a response.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, as a parent, you got to be sure of the fact that God's purpose and calling on your life, and then that's the way that you can connect. And the other thing, just from my experiences being your kid, is that you guys always included us in everything that you did in
that's so
ministry,
key.
right? From when we were young,
Yep.
all the way up to like we were leading worship when we could barely, reach the microphone stand.
Right.
And we were part of the kids ministry and handing out flyers and ushering and all that kind of stuff. Everything that you guys did, we did it as a family unit. It was never separate.
Yes, yeah, that's absolutely a key. And I think that's one for parents who are watching. You got young kids, get that one right in the beginning, and it'll really save your life, because if you get your kids involved and they're clear, like we're talking about, what do? We make leaders. Well, as a family, what do you do? There's a family vision and a family mandate.
Yeah.
What do you do? And if you can't clarify that, you'll not be able to lead your kids in that,
Right.
and they won't grow up
Like you should
in
have a
the way they
family
should.
vision, right?
That's right,
Okay.
yeah.
So then again, we talked about people who don't have kids or maybe adopted kids. Is there a difference between, because you guys dealt with this being a natural born kid and then being an adopted kid.
Right.
How does that work?
And that's a fun one, because a lot of people have questions about that. Okay. In the end, in the second level, we'll talk about the El Shaddai home, where we brought in another 27 kids and adopt them into our family. And then how does all that dynamic work? And people have a lot of preconceived ideas. And it's actually a lot of fun, because there's a lot of revelation of how God treats us and adopts us into his family through all of that happened. But one of the big questions is, okay, now you've got adopted kids and you've got natural born kids. How does this fit together, and how does this work together? Being our natural born kid is not the end of your story. It's just the beginning. Right? And so being adopted is not the end of your story, it's just the beginning. But it's where you go from there that really matters. And so the fact is, it really has no bearing at all.
Right.
It really doesn't. It has no bearing at all. Otherwise, you would have to say one is lesser, one is greater than the other, and it's not. It's just that you started from a different place, but you're going to all end up where God wants you if everything works out.
Yeah, amen. Okay, so then let's talk about, because the idea of adoption just brings up a lot of, like you said, preconceived ideas.
Sure.
And there is this idea of favoritism, right? I remember one time when we were getting ready for a Christmas production, and I had the flute, and I was learning a Christmas song, and I was not very good at it. And one of my sisters had said, like, maybe you should just stop playing this song because it's not really good. And I remember you just said something really simple, and you said, she knows how to play the flute, she just has to learn to play the song, give her some time. And that ended the discussion. But what that did for me was suddenly give me confidence, like, I can learn that, I know how to play the flute, I just got to learn this song, And but sometimes people will look and they'll say, well, you're favored because you got to play the flute and somebody else didn't. And it's a different perspective, because when we talk about favoritism, a lot of times the idea is everything has to be equal.
Right.
Right? But the problem is we're not dealing with the same sets of
Well,
people,
we're sure
right?
not.
My sister, who was making fun of my bad flute playing, she couldn't play the flute, right?
Right.
So if it would have been even worse, right? At least I can hit the notes. So when we're talking about bringing out the gifts in your kids, it's the same with disciplining your kids.
Yeah.
You're not dealing with the same person.
That's right.
And so how do you go about that without making people feel like, you're favoring this child over that child, or you're giving special treatment to one over the other?
Well, first of all, we have to understand very, very clearly that you don't want equality. You don't want fairness. You don't want any of that kind of stuff. Otherwise, you don't have a gift that's different from anybody else.
Right.
And when you can instill that into the family, and we talk about that. We do that in Bible college. We had a whole year based on it's not fair.
Yeah.
Right? Because the idea that it's fair is really a stupid idea.
It's true.
And James, he talked about that. And he talked about favoritism or giving preference to someone. And what he means is that do not treat someone with a preference or give them better treatment for what you will get out of it personally. And that's the end of that matter.
Right.
So he's not talking about you have to treat everybody fair, rich man and poor man, for their sake. He said, you got to do it for your sake, because
Right.
you're a judge of an evil thought now if you think that that everything has to be fair and equal. And when we look at the gift, it's going to take you a different place. And I mean, I thank God. I don't want it to be fair either. I want God to reward me according to my faith, and that's His promise. I don't want Him to reward me the same as He rewards everybody else.
Right.
Because I'll get more if I'll have more faith, right?
Yeah.
I think it's faith that pleases Him. And so there's that whole idea, if we can understand, get out of that communist socialist idea that everything should be equal. Because it shouldn't be. Otherwise, we'd all be the same, a bunch of minions, right? And we don't want that. So we want people to grow up in the individuality and the gift and the calling. But you have to instill that into the family model and the family idea, that this isn't fair. And one of the things that, I mean, you guys did from young, we had all these Thai kids and the 4 redheads, and you called yourselves the red ants and the black ants, because you noticed that there's an obvious difference. There's no sense trying to pretend you're all the same. You know, whenever we went to Canada for furlough, we took you guys, you 4 with us. We didn't take the others. We couldn't, right? We weren't allowed to. And so, you know, there's all those differences. Well, you might as well face up to it.
Yeah.
And say, okay, why is there a difference, and what can I get out of this, and where is this difference going to take me? It's a uniqueness. So,
Right.
so yeah, don't forget about being fair. It's just not. But you don't want to give preferential treatment. What happened to us, of course, in the course of the ministry is different people would come along and would say to me, well, you know, you treat Becky differently because she's your daughter. And I'm thinking, well, I treat her like a daughter. Yeah. But then the same person would say, well, you treat Dow specially because she's your daughter-in-law. Well, you treat Sawang special because he's your adopted son. Well, you treat Sally special because she's your daughter-in-law's second cousin once removed. And everybody's going to think, what is this about? This is foolishness. And the fact is, it's not about being fair and treating everybody fairly. I mean, you know, if from a parent point of view, the kids that can see and tap into the family vision will receive more from you, and you'll give more to them than the ones that don't. I mean, we've dealt with rebels and kids that wouldn't adopt themselves into the family, and you don't invest, you know, because all they're looking for is that same old thing, what do I get? Well, until we look for what can I give, then you're not going to connect. And so we will reward the what can I give attitude 1,000 times more than the what can I get attitude.
That's a bit of a hard pill for people to swallow, because I think even in ministry, right, you think about, like, there are certain people on your ministry team that you will invest more in,
right?
But it's because they're actually more committed. But people look at that and they go, it should be fair across the board. And for sure, there shouldn't be that kind of favoritism, right? You don't do that. But the issue is that people who do connect to the vision, people who do carry more responsibility, there's more of an investment that you're willing to make in them, right? It reminds me of the parable of the talents in the Bible, always, you know, where there was different measures. Everybody started with a different measure. We didn't start off all equal to begin with, right? And then those that actually increased, their reward for that increase was more responsibility, right? And a lot of times what people see as favoritism, it's actually, I'm giving you more responsibility, right? And the truth of the matter is, everybody thinks they want the responsibility until they actually carry the burden of it, right? Like, I want the job title, but I don't understand how much work this is actually going to cost me. And so it's easy as a leader to feel pressure from the inside from people who are saying, you know, it's not fair. How come you let so-and-so lead worship and I don't? Well, the first clue is if people are talking to you like that, there's an issue in their heart, right?
Yeah.
But the second thing is, as a leader, you have to be able to discern who it is that is actually connecting to the vision and the purpose of God. And it's not that you're not training everybody, but certain people will take what you have and they'll run with it farther, and they'll be ahead just because of, you know, their tenacity, their boldness, their faith, and you have to give them more. Because if you try to keep them at the same level as everybody else, the whole thing's going to come crashing apart, right? So you're releasing people based on their own hunger and their own passion too. And so don't be afraid to be clear with people. You know, so-and-so is getting more responsibility because they've done this well, you know, and the fact that we're having this conversation, it's okay to have this conversation, but maybe you should look and see if there's something in your heart that's, you know, not right about it. Because if you're expecting equality, Move to Venezuela. Socialism. Not working out so well.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what Paul's talking about when he says, don't provoke your children to anger. They're doing their best. You want to reward that. You want to, like you say, sow into that and exalt that and honor that. So yeah, we want to see everybody.
Yeah, so in making leaders, pay attention to those that are connecting, those that are growing, and don't be afraid to invest in them. Because they're the ones that are, you see the harvest of their life.
Absolutely right.
Okay, so what are some other things that people need to know about how you've raised your kids?
Well, I think when you look at step back and look at it, and this is probably good for parents, is that for me and Mom, we've got several families that we have used as examples. And you look at people who've done a great job raising their kids, a generation or probably about half a generation before you. People that are your senior by 10 years or whatever, and you're looking at how they raise their kids, and those become tremendous examples. People like Papa Mervyn and Mama Muriel, and Dr. Alan Barbillet, and Dick and Joan DeWord, and people like that you watch them raise amazing kids. They're doing it just ahead of you, and then that becomes your model. And so what I glean from that is that I need to be the model for the next person. And I really want our family to be, I thank God for Facebook. I mean, we want family selfies out there all the time because we want people to be able to see openly and transparently, this is how we raise our kids. And it's not just show them all the good stuff, but the fact is that in the end, we win. And that's what we want to see, that we actually are successful in making leaders out of anyone who's willing. And so we want to be an example that other people can. The truth is, the example is better than all the things we can say.
You had a key point there. You said, out of anyone who's willing. So what would you say to parents who have kids that, they've invested in or are trying to invest in, and they're not receiving that investment, right? And you feel a sense of responsibility, or even leaders, right? Where you've invested in somebody's life and they're rejecting that call, they're not connecting to how do you handle not carrying that burden or that sense of guilt?
Yeah, Becky, that's the biggest question in the entire universe.
Well, I'm glad I asked it here.
I think it's, like even more, is there a God, because this is the frustration. I did my best with you, why are you so out of whack? Why is your thinking so, what else was I supposed to do? Where did I fail? And as parents, we have to not look at where our kids are and judge our own success or failure according to that. But we have to look into the future. You don't judge your own success according to your past, do you? You judge it according to your potential and your future, and we press into that.
Right.
And so it's the same thing with the family. Doesn't matter what your kid's going through, it's not over yet. It's never over until it's really over. And so that's the attitude. And so don't be discouraged or dissuaded or count that. And I can remember back in the day, if the pastor's kids were not doing what everybody in the congregation thought they should do, then it almost disqualified the pastor from being the pastor. And like, what, seriously? Like, why don't you help the guy, right? And be an encouragement to families. And so I think we really have to look ahead at where this can end up, not where it is now, and just do what we're supposed to do. When we're building something, and we see the finished product in our mind and in our heart, but you don't have any proof other than that it's going to turn out that way. But you keep building. You keep putting the bricks together, you keep putting the wood together, whatever it may be, you keep putting it together as though that's the way it's going to turn out. And that's really what our kids need. They need to see us putting their stuff together with that constant vision ahead that that's the way it's going to turn out.
Yeah, amen. That's good. Okay, so last question for you is, what kind of support do we need to raise our own children? Because no man's an island. That's
right, no man's an island. And kind of where we're going with this is in these 4 episodes, we're going to talk about the levels of reach and into who we're actually raising leaders from. And the first one, of course, is our children. The next one would be the ones we adopt, and so on down the road. So really, we have to understand that in the first level, we've got to get the family support together. You've got to have a mom and a dad who are together on it, right? And the whole family structure, and of course different cultures are different, but and we learned a lot when we came to Asia. The whole family structure and support was generational, and you'd have generations living in the same home.
Yeah,
I was fascinated by that, and the idea that that everybody in your family plays a role, an important role. Again, those example people and so on. And that's the support base that you have when you're raising your family. And the reason I wanted to point that out is because everybody has that. We all have that support base. We have our husband and wife. We have, unless there's some tragedy or whatever. But God fills that in, and there's always all of the support that we need to raise our own children is within our reach. And so there's no reason that we can't succeed in doing it. And if you got, support lacking, go find some. Like I say, we got guys like Papa Mervyn who I mean, he hired Margaret, he hired you when you went back to Canada to go to school and that kind of thing, and kind of watched over you, and he'd send me little reports. Yeah, Becky's doing good, Margaret's doing good, and just so to have somebody like that, and so you can reach out, and people that'll see your vision, if you'll make it plain as a family, they'll help you. They'll come along and help you. There's so many people that want to help us.
Yeah, amen. Yeah. So what do? We make leaders.
Yes.
And the first level where we make leaders is in our own family.
That's it.
And next week, stay tuned to talk about the adopted ones, right?
That's
so
it,
even if you don't have your own kids or you're not married, there's still those that you are adopted into, families that have adopted themselves to you, that you are meant to have an influence in and to, raise them up to be leaders.
Yeah. So next week it is.
Hey guys, thanks for watching World Mission Continuum. I'm Alyssa Redner and I'm the producer of all these videos. Please subscribe so that you don't miss anything. Also, you can share it with a friend and like it as well. You can support us by clicking Give Now so that we can keep creating new leaders. Thanks for watching.